What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Chats here, coming at you with another video. This time we are talking about the absolutely disastrous results of the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement trailer. Now, before I actually get started talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro, I first want to talk about this article from IGN dated back from August 27th. This article discusses how, starting on September 2nd, Sony plans to raise the cost of PlayStation 5s by $90 in Japan, starting from around $462 American dollars up to $552 American dollars over the course of that week. That's not an amount to scoff at, and honestly, because of that whole decision, it doesn't leave me one bit surprised that the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to cost a total of $700 at launch. And that's not including if you want all of the bells and whistles, that's going to run you an additional $110 for a disc stand and an upright stand. The upright stand will allow you to put your PlayStation 5 like this, which is how most people like to use their PlayStation 5, and the disc drive is the only way you'd be able to access any of your physical media. Now, this article from Batting Into the Comics goes in and breaks down all the different things you'll be able to do with the PlayStation 5 Pro, going into the fact that the point of it is to allow for better graphical optimization. As according to Sony, about 3/4 of the time, PS5 players choose to use performance mode over graphics mode, and that makes sense. Your game can look as terrible as it needs to as long as the gameplay is smooth, but if the gameplay is choppy and bad, it doesn't matter how beautiful the game is. And it goes down here to show some of the performance differences between the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I'm going to be completely honest. The difference between these two photos is not enough that I think it is worth paying an additional $700, especially if you already own a PlayStation 5. And that's just ignoring all the extra accessories. The only differences I'm really seeing between these two photos is the shadow's a little bit darker and the car's a little bit shinier, and the suit's a little bit shinier. I'm not seeing any benefits from, say, ray tracing or excess reflections in this entire thing. And that leads me over to this post from Kotaku. The most shocking part about this whole thing is the fact that it is uniting gamers, games journalists, and regular people. Three groups that never seem to be connected. Now, this whole Kotaku argument, it goes into talk a little bit about what the PS5 Pro looks like and how much it's going to run you. And it doesn't spend a whole lot of time discussing the actual specs or the cost of the device. Instead, it goes deep into showing off all of these different comments from people who are equally unimpressed with the cost of the PlayStation 5 Pro. And as you can see, it's not just a couple of people. That leads me over to this Smash JT article. Hail Smash JT, check him out if you haven't. Where he goes into specifically the cost breakdown of the device right here, where he talks about the additional $80 for the Blu-ray disc drive. Now, the thing that people might not be thinking about, it doesn't come with a disc drive. What if your games are all physical? If your games are all physical, that of course means you can't play them. You have to re-buy them digitally, or you have to fork over $80 just to be able to play those games you already own. And now, of course, Smash GT goes and does how Smash GT likes to do. He goes in and clowns it with this Simpsons clown car. And then he goes on to talk about, down here, how if you were just want to spend a little bit more money, only going up to $1,300, you can build a working PC that can rival and even exceed the limitations of the PlayStation 5 without having to worry about these graphical limitations or the space. It further goes into breakdown a bunch of the different benefits you get from using a PC over a PlayStation. This isn't a commentary on the console wars or PC master race. This is simply the facts. Now, I really like how Smash GT goes into this article and brings up this part about how for just a little bit more you can get a working PC. My computer is an $1,100 gaming laptop and it can run most games better than a PlayStation 5 can. And I thought it'd be fun to do so I went in and I put together my own list of things you can get for the same cost of a fully realized PlayStation 5 Pro. First of all, you can get yourself a Steam Deck OLED, a Switch Lite, and a Meta Quest 2, and that's going to save you still $40. Now, the thing about this is it is getting you 3 separate, fully realized devices for your own use, one of which can be used similar to a console if you plug it into a television, which is the Steam Deck OLED, if you have an adapter that would allow you to do that. The Switch Lite is its own handheld device as well, and the Meta Quest 2 is its own self-realized device. To mimic this, if you really wanted to, you could get the PlayStation 5 Pro, and then in order to use the PlayStation 5 Pro like a handheld, like the Steam Deck, which is its own self-realized device that would allow you to play your Steam games without the need of a PC, you would have to get the PlayStation Portal which in of itself costs $200 and is not a self-realized device. You still need a PlayStation if you still want to use the Portal. And with the MetaQuest 2, while that is an older gen device, it still runs perfectly. I have one. I love it. It works great. Now, you can get a similar device using PlayStation if you get the PS VR 2, which is a $500 headset. Now, I will admit, there is a major difference between the PS VR 2 and the MetaQuest 2. The MetaQuest 2, while being a self-sustained unit, is only a $200 unit. You're going to get what you pay for. It runs a little bit slow. The graphics are a little bit sloppy. The PlayStation VR 2 has things like eye tracking and better wands. And so while it is kind of worth a $500 budget, if you look at something like the MetaQuest 3, you'll see that that costs only $300 and has almost all of the same features that the PS VR 2 has, while still being a self-contained unit. Now, aside from being able to buy 3 different devices that all offer different things and ultimately together are better than a PlayStation 5 Pro, you could also take that $810 and buy 8 copies of Concord, the greatest PlayStation game of all time. Or so I'm told. My copy doesn't work because it is in Spanish and the servers are shut down. Now, if this gaming device in Concord don't fit your fancy, you can of course also go down and buy yourself 533 Costco hot dogs. And you know, I personally hate hot dogs, but Costco hot dogs, they just hit different. I don't know what it is, something about the bread, the dog, and all of the other toppings. It's just the perfect thing to get after a long shopping spree at Costco. And because it's only $1.50, you don't have to cry so much, unlike when you go and buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, talking about Concord, it kind of brings me back to what I believe is the actual reason behind both the PlayStation 5 price hike and the exuberant cost of the PlayStation 5 Pro, and that is the fact that PlayStation has had several bombs in a row, specifically with Concord. Now, with Stellar Blade and a few of their other recent successes, they haven't had to worry about stomaching. The budget was mostly handled by the game development studio. PlayStation was just the main place of distributor, and they might have helped a little bit with the cost. Whereas Concord was a first-party game, meaning that PlayStation would have had to stomach all of the costs, and that was a $200 million game. It doesn't surprise me one bit that they're doing everything they can to recoup that cost, even if it means having to rely mostly on console sales. And predictably, the internet does what the internet does, and they've been non-stop memeing them. Every single post on Twitter, if you look, is people making fun of it. Here you have a PC that probably also costs only around $800. Someone just slapped the PS5 logo on and called it a day. And really, it's just non-stop clowning. These people posting things that look no different. Just going and absolutely destroying PlayStation for all of its worth. Now, on top of all of this, it's pretty easy to actually judge the reception to the PlayStation 5 Pro and its cost. If you go to the YouTube reveal trailer, while I don't have the downvote counter installed on my computer, I can use this site to go and show me what it is. I looked earlier to compare its current results with what is on YouTube, and the views, the likes, and the comments seem to be consistent. So I'm going to trust this site and assume that the downvote counter is equally consistent. Now, sitting at 40,000 upvotes, that's not something to scoff at until you look at the downvote amount. It's 93,000 downvotes. That's more than twice as many upvotes. This has a 70% downvote rate, and that's only including the people who actually bothered to go in and look at it. If you go into the actual YouTube post and take a look at some of the comments there, you can see them absolutely getting flamed alive for it. The fact that they left the comment section open is crazy, and I'm really curious to see if they're going to end up closing the comment section because of how heavily they're getting flamed. Everyone is complaining about the cost. Play has no limits apart from the $700 for the console, $100 for disc drive, and $25 for a stand. Bravo, Sony. This person sums it up perfectly. No one is happy with the cost. So, while I am a firm believer in generally playing whatever you want to, on whatever device you want to, there really is no reason for someone to go out and drop $700 for a digital-only console, another $80 for a disc drive, and an additional $25 for a stand if that's something that they would want. If you want to, I'm not going to stop you. I don't have the ability to. But why would you go and do that when you can use that $800 to buy anything else? You could put $500 of that towards a PlayStation 5, as they are now becoming available for the general population, and that way you can rely on using disc-based games, allowing for the secondhand market and trading games as well. Either that, or you can just go ahead and get a $700 computer. It's not going to run great, but it's probably going to outdo the PlayStation 5 Pro. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for coming along to go shopping with me. Sorry we didn't get anything, but at that price, who the hell could afford anything?